And we're on. Hi, everybody. I just wanted to put together a little introductory video to just let you know who I am and what this channel is about, or podcast, or publication, I guess, is where we're going with it. This is Trust Your Gut with Tania. Well, who am I and what does that mean? Let's start with that. First of all, I'm going to start off with I don't consider myself a writer. I just watch somebody else say the same thing. And I really feel that that's what it is. I have done some writing. I like to talk. And so, okay, I need to do a podcast because I like to talk. What I like to talk about is how I overcame some things so that maybe it'll help you too. So that's mostly what I'm talking about here. And Substack did a lot to change me because it's forced me to really be honest about writing and whatnot. The temptation these days is to use AI. I do here and there for certain things. I'm going to give you the full disclosure. But when it comes to actually coming up with what I'm doing in each podcast, I like to write it myself. Sometimes I will take, maybe I'll take this transcript and I'll run it through just to organize it, because sometimes organization is not my greatest skill as much as I like to be organized. And this is helpful. So, all right. I also did a post recently about what radical act of revolutionary health can you do in these times. So these times, what are these times? A lot of us understand that we're living in some crazy times right now. There's so much happening very quickly in the world, good, bad, and otherwise. It's difficult to keep up with this stuff. The Hindu cycles of time, there's a lot of debate around this. They may be calling this the Kali Yuga, the Dark Age. But one of the things that they had said about it, and I feel that this totally rings true, and I get it now, like what they're talking about, is that all that's required during a dark age is the bare minimum. So we may be calling it the bare minimum, but whatever it is you're doing may still feel like a challenge in these times. And that's the whole reason why it's the bare minimum. They talk about it with regard to spirituality, like, okay, all you need to be doing really is just, do your best to be a good person and pray every day. It sounds like a lot, actually. That's the point. That's a lot in these times. And as far as your health is concerned, taking care of yourself, taking responsibility for your own health is a revolutionary act. And I don't want to get like, oh, Gandhi said, be the change. Yeah, that is essentially what it is. I found that being a parent to an adult child is very challenging, and that the way in which you can continue to parent when you have this circumstance is to be an example. And because of that, I recognized as well that with regard to humanity and your community and your family and the people around you, you're not going to be parentally or authoritarily, if that's a word, telling them what to do. Like, oh, you should do this. I learned the hard way that you're not supposed to do that. I learned the hard way you're not supposed to do that with my son as well. So being the example is the radical act. And because you are, in fact, responsible for you, that's it. Like, really, when it comes down to what you're doing to take care of yourself, but emotionally, mentally, spiritually, physically, you're your only responsibility. And I know that if you have young children or, elderly parents you're taking care of and whatever, that's true. But the one thing that you hear is when you're a parent, like when you're, this is I hate this example because I'm terrified of like plane crashes. I'm sure we all are. But when you're on the plane, they tell you put the oxygen mask on you first so that you can help the person next to you put theirs on. This is the ultimate metaphor for life right now. You absolutely need to be responsible for your own health and making sure that you're taking care of yourself. Otherwise, you will not be able to help other people. I mean, and this is really only if you want to help other people. I'm not saying that you have to either, by the way. That's not at all what I'm saying. Everybody has their own place where they're at, and there is never judgment about that, at least from me on that. There's no should. You should not, should. We're not shoulding. I love that. Don't should all over the place, somebody told me. I thought that was great. So, so how did I come into this? Yeah, I got notes because there's a lot going on here. I think I have done some podcasts where I've explained deeper, and I will link them in the notes below to kind of give you a guide of where to go from here with this. My library is growing and is going to continue to grow. My goal is to put out one podcast a week. That's more than enough. I'm not really a podcaster per se. I'm not here just to create content. That's not the point. I am a functional nutrition strategist. That was the wonderful title given to me by the tech gods at ChatGPT. Again, my title, because I needed to come up with something that people understood, like, what do I do and who am I? Because I am a certified nutrition coach. That's not really just what I do. I have a technical background. I troubleshoot. I was a coder, a computer programmer. I started troubleshooting and doing technical things when I was like 11, 12 years old, when I first learned how to code back in the early 80s. But I've also always been interested in health and wellness and biology and things like that. And I've seen this overlap, and that's where I exist. I exist in the middle of those things. So it's not just physical though, right? A lot of what I've also learned is on the spiritual level. And I know that it's kind of bizarre to be in a place where I talk about and embrace spirituality and the oneness of being and things like that, and be a very heady left brain techno geek type person. But I feel that that's one of the reasons why initially I kind of leaned into Hinduism, because Hinduism is a technology. It's not just a spiritual, aspect. And if you look at people from that area of the world, they tend to be kind of nerdy, techie type of people. And the explanations they give for the nature of the universe make a lot of sense. And I'm not talking all the different gods and things like that. I mean, we could get into that. That's a whole conversation in like Catholic saints and stuff. Like, we're talking, those are like middle management things to look at, like specific energies that people can focus on to accomplish a particular goal. That's the way I explain these things. I know some people in the Christian circles don't agree with that, but you're never going to get anybody to agree 100%, especially when we're talking spirituality, and also when we're talking about health. I am kind of rambling a little, and I will a little bit because I do tend to do that, but this is kind of the way my brain is bringing things together, because there's a lot here and I want to try to get through it. Another thing that I wanted to bring up too is that I did read something recently that I was like, it triggered me. But it was really important for me to read this. It was a Substack that I can link at my own peril, because she was angry that, here's a chronically ill person. I don't necessarily identify as being chronically ill, but I know I am. I will get into what I had and what I've had and what I'm working on. I'm going to put into remission, because that's when you have chronic illness, that's what that means. Unfortunately, I believe most of us are chronically ill at this point. So she was so angry because she was so sick and tired of wellness people telling her what she should do to get better. That's where I'm like, yes, it's true. Stop just offering unsolicited advice to people. That's not what I'm doing here. What I'm doing here is explaining what I've had going on with me, how I figured out how to fix it, and giving you actual steps so that if it works for you, maybe if you're in a place where you want to try something, you can. And there's never judgment if you're done with it. I've seen people I've seen people go through horrible things and eventually give up. And they have every right. They have every right. It is miserable living with some of these things. And having another person tell you, why don't you just try this? It oversimplifies the struggle that they've had for so long. Being just in pain on a daily basis is so unbelievably exhausting. You're unable to even rub two brain cells together to just get up and exist. And having somebody else come to tell you this is what you should be doing is infuriating. And so what I did was I read through the whole thing. I wanted to hear that perspective. It's important to hear that perspective, especially if you're somebody who really wants to get your message to the audience that you feel would benefit. Speaking to those people where they're coming from is so important. And I am dedicated and passionate to doing what I can to get better at doing that, because I don't want to tell people what they should be doing. I want to be here to tell you, this is what happened to me. These are the things I've got going on. And these are some of the things that I looked up. Scientific studies that show that this is something that could help, how it could help, how your body works. We don't learn an awful lot about how our bodies actually work. And that's another thing that I love to do. I like teaching. I like seeing the light bulb go off. I like having people make the connection between what is it that they're suffering from and, oh my goodness, this is why. Because we don't get into enough of the why. We talk about it, people throw things around. I mean, it's even in my tag, like root cause healing. Like, what does that really mean? I think you need to understand how your body works first. Do you need to have a degree in biology? No, no, no. This is, again, I get a little nerdy, and I'm working on doing better with speaking to people who don't understand science, to explain to them in basic terms. There's another podcast I follow that at the end of it, it's explain it to a 6-year-old at the end. So what they do is they go through all the nerdiness and they put all the stuff in there. And then at the end, they have this very basic, and again, it might almost be a little condescending because I think it's an AI driven thing. But you really do, if you want to get through to people, and I believe if you're on a platform talking to people, that's the goal. The goal is to reach people. You got to meet them where they're at. And it doesn't mean that they're lesser or whatever. It could be that they're struggling so much that understanding what you're saying could really make a huge difference, and making sure that what you're saying makes sense to people is important. So I am dedicated. That is my promise to you, that I will do everything I can to try my best to strive to be somebody that is more easily understood. That being said, one of those things that I've got, that I have a genetic predisposition to, that I've had other outside factors involved in, is neurodiversity. I have, they say, don't say you have it. You are a level 1 autistic person. I think you kind of have to be able to see the bigger picture. And, when you have this particular, and I'm going to call it a gift, it comes with some extra baggage and other weird things like bendiness, which is a collagen disorder, which causes aches and pains in the body, and some weird things could happen. When you have the bendy thing, you could wake up in the morning and something's out of place and you don't know why, and you could be in pain for a week because of it. That's exhausting. I've figured out ways to overcome these things, to work on these things. It's a constant job. It is. And if you're not in a place to do the job over and over again, the last thing you want to do is hear people tell you what you should do. So I'm just going through and explaining, here's the things I've had, here's what I've done to overcome that. Maybe it's something you haven't tried and you want to, right? I'll also just be offering throughout each podcast. I don't like the whole giving you a problem without the solution. You know, these are some solutions. They're not the solution. There is no the solution. I had wicked gut issues as a child. I was bent over in pain after eating. I mean, I remember just crying and being bloated and horrible. And I figured out where that was coming from. It had something to do with folic acid. I'll link that one. And a lot of people have a problem with that. And it has to do with the way we process our food in the United States. That's a big issue. And it's only gotten worse. So again, knowing these things is important. I mean, if you're bent over in pain and it's being caused by one silly little thing, and you can avoid that silly little thing and not deny yourself, because that's another thing. Not denying yourself. Like, oh, you need to cut out everything. No, there's ways around these things. And that's what I'm here to do, to tell you this, right? Blood sugar issues. I had a great grandmother die of diabetes back when nobody was dying of diabetes. It's genetic, you know. Genetics is a propensity towards. It's not a death sentence. So knowing these things are really important, because then you navigate around them, because that's what that is. It's understanding how your body works. And then it may work differently than other people. You're like, oh, well, they're eating these things and they're fine. What's going on? Their metabolic systems are different than yours. Their immune systems are different than yours. Their blood types are different than yours. Everything is different. The world is a big place. It's not really, but it's a big place when it comes to us itty bitty humans and where we are on it. And we've adapted to different places and different environments. And because of that, when you take somebody from one place and you put them in another place that's completely different, they're going to have challenges based on what they were originally adapted to. That's a fact. There's things like, here's one, sickle cell anemia, right? That sounds like a horrible thing. It's an adaptation for malaria. So if you're in a place where there's, malaria and you have sickle cell, you're better off because it helps to keep that at bay. I don't want to get into the details of it, but there's reasons. There's reasons behind a lot of these things that we think of as illness. So important things. Let's see. Oh, I gained 200 pounds I didn't gain. I was 200 pounds when I was pregnant. I'm a 5'1" little bitty boned person. It was horrible. Part of that was because I was on antidepressants. I had horrible experiences with antidepressants. I'm one of those people. I was fortunate enough to recognize that was not going to work for me early on, so I didn't end up in a situation where I was hooked for a long time. There's a lot of stories coming out about this now. I feel very fortunate, but I did do something to wean myself off and to handle some of those underlying circumstances that put me in that place to begin with. Postpartum depression comes along with all these other lovely things. Multiple tick-borne illnesses. This is why I'm like, oh no, alpha gal, because that's one that I haven't gotten. I got all the other ones. I live in Connecticut. Lyme disease, Ehrlichia, Babesia. I had Rocky Mountain spotted fever. Like all these things, they add to the burden. Sometimes they hang out, and if you have a little suppressed immune system, kind of like I do, again, there's a good reason for that. It's a blood type thing. It's related to an immunotype. Then you may end up with these things chronically, which means you got to stay on top of them. It's a pain in the neck, but it's essential. Okay. Let's see. Addiction to opiates. That was not, I was a child. There was paregoric. That's what it was called. There was something, I think that's what it was. There was something that I was taking. They were calling it Benadryl. And it was for my stomach. I would get that because I had gut issues. I would have nausea. And I was being given this thing that was helping me to sleep. Come to find out, I think that's what it was. No, paregoric's the thing that makes you throw up. I don't remember. Anyway, the bottom line is I was taking something. It had an opiate base. And then I ended up going through withdrawal as a child. We didn't know that at the time, but that's what it was. When I look back and I look at what happened, it explained it. And then again, when I was coming out of postpartum and I couldn't sleep and I had a terrible episiotomy, like the worst you can get. And my gynecologist was like, oh, well, I could keep prescribing it. So I became addicted to Percocets, and then I had to wean myself off that. Okay, so my body's a laboratory, and my brain is like resourceful and needs to solve the problem. So I feel that this combination has me uniquely positioned to tell you these things happen. This is my lived experience, and this is what I figured out about it and what I did. Um, long COVID, because of course I got the like original COVID, got that story out there, learned an awful lot about what was going on there, found solutions to it. Am I 100%? No, I don't think I'm ever going to be 100%. I'm going also through some fun menopausal things because that all happened at the same time. How am I getting through it? I have a whole podcast about that. I got into the hypermobility part. Yeah. So I have chronic pain and things like that. And when I eat certain things that aggravate it and inflame me, that happens. That happens to everybody. These are a lot of very common human experiences, which is why it's important to understand what could possibly be behind it. Again, for me, that's what it is. It might be for you. It might not. So, what are my credentials? Because I know there are some people that really need to hear these things. My number one credential, more than anything, is I have a problem with authority, which means that I don't believe something people tell me this is the way it is. I need to find out for myself. Part of that is experiencing it on my own or going out and doing some research. Because I have a degree in biology, I was exposed to a lot of science. I have always been avidly interested in science in general. I understand the language and all the stuff behind it. I'm able to read studies. I'm able to figure out what studies are good and which ones are not so good because we've got a lot of weird things happening out there with funding. And when major entities fund studies, they have a vested interest in getting the outcome that they want. So understanding what actual science is a skill too, because that's also been thrown around like, science trademark, trying to prove something wrong is science too. So, yes, I had this ability to be resourceful. I absolutely hated before the internet. I'm glad we have the internet. I have been just going full bore into the research. It's so easy to have everything at our fingertips. But now we have an added layer of another challenge around that. All this information, right? And a lot of it is artificially suppressed. I have a whole thing where I talk about go beyond the headline, go beyond the AI summary, please, for goodness sake, if you can. Shut it off. Do your own research. I say this all the time. That phrase has even been turned into something like, oh, well, you're going to do your own research. If somebody is chastising you for looking into something on your own, they don't have a problem with authority. And unfortunately, they may be led in directions that are not in their own best interest. You need to. I'm not telling you what you should do, but you really need to look out for your own interests. Not everybody's going to have that. And most people, I don't want to say people, but institutions just don't. They don't have, there's no soul there, right? So I always had a passion to save the world. Hey! I mean, I had somebody read my palm once and tell me that there's this line here. They're like, that means you want to save the world. I'm like, well, I didn't need a line in my hand to tell me that. I have kind of always been that way. I was an activist. I've come primarily, and I don't want to get political, but I've come primarily from the left. My opinion now has gone all over the place. I am a very holistically political, scientific, like my viewpoints come from everywhere, and I do not chastise people for having a particular viewpoint because that's not helpful. I want to hear it. Like, as I mentioned earlier, this person who was yelling and screaming about being chronically ill and having people tell her what to do. I'm not going to tell anybody what to do, and I'm going to listen to that perspective even if I don't agree with it, because I want to know where people are coming from. That's the other radical act. forming relationships, and that is a bare minimum. Having human connections. I'm seeing it here, at least on Substack. I'm seeing it within other corners of the internet as well. But just getting people together to talk. I have also moved my practice out into the real world instead of just being online. I have two places because I feel it's important, because I want to connect with people that are outside my community. But I've done a lot this past year to really get into my community and get to know the people in there. Who are the people in your neighborhood? Simple. Find out, who are these people out there? Just make connections with people, talk to them, find out where they're coming from. I think we have a crisis with this right now. So that is a radical act, a revolutionary act. Go out and talk to somebody, especially if they don't hold the same opinion as you do. It's important to find out where people are coming from. That will save the world. Yes, the tech troubleshooting thing, I started really early with that. It kind of morphed on through some of the jobs I had. I worked in a medical lab for a period of time, and I liked all the sciencey stuff going on there. I was one of the people who originally were reporting all the Lyme disease cases in Connecticut to the state of Connecticut, so I was watching the pattern there and where it was and what was happening and how it was spreading. So that was an interesting thing. But the other thing that was happening was I had these giant copy machines, and when you opened up the doors, there's all these levers and buttons and things in there. It looked like a busy box. I'm like, oh, a jam. I get to fix it. And I enjoy fixing problems. The computer systems there. That's one of the reasons I kind of segued from biology out into the tech world for a while, was because I was being faced with technology and not enough people there to help me fix it. So that is me. I will not wait around for somebody to help me. I know that's a trauma response. I'm aware. But it's also very useful because I want to find the solution. And I was doing that. And I was doing that with people. I was like, oh, you've got this. It could be that. How about try that? I did that to people. It doesn't work that well. I had a lot of people tell me that they appreciated it. And some people I did help that way. But I don't want to be that guy. Not anymore. Yeah. My mother, oh my goodness, my mother's influence has been huge. So I was born in 1971. By 1975, my mom was doing yoga, taking belly dancing lessons, doing some touch for health, which was like a, meridian massage type stuff, which was really cool stuff. And it was out with the Wonder Bread and in with the wheat bread. I mean, it was a little unnerving as a child to have all the goodies taken out of the house, and then all of a sudden, instead of chocolate covered raisins, you're eating carob covered raisins. She was sprouting stuff on the windowsill. My mom kind of went whole hog into the earthy crunchy earth mother thing, which was pretty cool because I have totally taken that torch and continued on with it, and now I am doing what I can to bring it back to her as an older woman who needs help in reminding about a lot of these things. And she's been very grateful, and the relationship I have with her is fantastic, and I am so grateful for that. Having a great relationship with your mother, I think, is one of those basic things, and unfortunately a lot of people don't, and I see what that does to people. So I have a lot of compassion when people don't. But so I had the supplements. I was taking vitamins from a very young age, and I think my mother saved me in a lot of ways with some of the supplements, because I know that with the gut issues and the other things I had, the metabolic stuff, looking back on it now, I did have a lot of nutritional deficiencies, but I think some of them were at least partially addressed by all of these interventions. So again, thanks, Mom. Creativity. Yes, I was a very creative child. I would do lots of things. I'd make stuff. I'd draw things. I was an art student. I did college art classes while I was in high school. I was in a creative learning program. I love creating things. So bringing all of this stuff together and like making a podcast. When I was a little kid, my sister and I got a tape recorder. Yeah, one of those little rectangular ones for the Christmas present. And I put together something like, okay, now back to our show, and I did all these things. So it's kind of funny that I'm doing a podcast now. I feel like my childhood and all of the things that I've done throughout my life have really brought me to this place. It's a culmination. I sit here now as a culmination of all of the experiences I've had, all of the things that I've done. None of the things were a waste of time. One of the things that I didn't mention, now that I'm talking about a waste of time, was I spent 20 years in a family business selling insurance. Me. But what that did was it taught me about what I didn't want to do. It taught me about, the whole how not to be salesy. Like, ugh, I don't like that stuff. I still have a difficult time, like pitching to people things, but what I recognized is that you have to really believe in the thing that you are selling. And what am I selling on here? I'm selling my services. Again, perfectly open. I'm selling solutions to everyday issues that people are facing. I'm passionate about that. I believe in that. This is my purpose on earth. I know this. So I'm having no problem with it. Kundalini yoga, very important one. So I did do yoga. My mother taught me things, the Hatha yoga, Iyengar, all that stuff. Like, I did do a lot of those things throughout my life. I was also doing Pilates and not realizing that that's what I was doing. So my yoga and Pilates certification, Kundalini is a little different. I get into that. I have a podcast. I will link to that so you can see what it is, what it's about. And I like it. It's a little different. There's a lot of rhythmic moving, rocking is good for the nervous system. I do a lot of nervous system, like physical nervous system regulation stuff, because as somebody on the spectrum, people on the spectrum are exposed nerves. We're very sensitive. We have some neurological damage. And because of that, that's why different lights flickering and loud noises. I mean, overstimulation is the way of the world. And it's one of the reasons I think there's so many people now that are maybe not necessarily on the spectrum, but also damaged in some way from all of just living in this world. And this is one of the reasons why people keep to themselves and want to just hide in their rooms and scroll, because it's an uncomfortable place to be out with the noise and stuff. So I do a lot of nervous system regulation, physical activities. I love teaching this. I teach it at a local yoga studio. I do programs around these things. I really enjoy doing this because it's also, I get the benefit of it teaching it. When you're teaching stuff, you really pick things up on a deeper level. So it's like, okay, well, what do you get out of it? I get a lot out of it. I get a lot out of it in that I'm helping people to regulate their nervous systems. I did get certified in nutrition coaching, again, because it does help me. I am able to have a full script platform, which is like my little online health food store. So if I do talk about a supplement, I can at least guide people there. It's just another way that I can stay afloat because I have to. This is my career now. I want to be able to live the rest of my life, maybe not even retire. This is it. I wanted a career I didn't want to retire from. And I believe that this is it. I can do it from any place for the most part, and I can enjoy what I'm doing. The Japanese call it wabi-sabi. And I've been passionate at finding that intersection of enjoying what I'm doing, getting the soul experience of it, and being able to be successful. The success is coming. Slowly, but it's coming. It is. It's incremental, but I'm very patient. I've learned a lot of patience. I think I figured it out. Yes. So being a parent, that informed me on how to be a healer. Again, the living as an example thing, because my own son, he understands all this stuff. You can't tell him what to do because he takes after me. He's going to do what he's going to do. And I just got to let go. And it's difficult, especially when you know and you're watching your child like suffering from something. It's like, but you just, I know, especially because he is part of me. Like, I know he's got the things I got going on too. And I've seen him grow up. I helped him through the things and challenges. You know, we got through an ADHD diagnosis without drugs, you know? I mean, and I'm not saying do this or do that. I'm just saying that's what we did. And he's grateful for it. He thanks me all the time, you know? But I still don't think it's ADHD. I think he's like me. He's not hyper. He's, you know, nerdy. So so that's again, what is this about? This is all about, it's not all about me, but it's all about my experiences, how I overcame them, the things I did, the science behind the things I did, and what you might be able to benefit from. So, with that, I'm going to end this. And thank you so much for subscribing. Everybody who subscribed or followed, I really, really, really appreciate it. I am very humbled by the response I'm getting here, and just so grateful for all of you guys, because I'm learning so much. And I love that. I mean, I'm 50, almost 55. I am learning. I love learning. That's another thing. Just love learning, and learning from people and relationships with people, and watching other people and watching what they're doing and watching them grow and be successful is amazing. So once again, thank you, and have a sparkling day.